PiggyRealEstate.com, Jackie Austin, hosting this week.
I am. Hi, how are you?
Good, Jackie, how are you?
Good. Well, I brought a guest with me.
Good.
So I brought Mick Holmes. He's with Holmes Inspections. We decided we wanted to talk about radon, which has become kind of an issue with selling houses and things like that. So Mick actually called and we were talking and he asked if he could come on and I said absolutely because I know nothing about it, so let's learn. So hi Mick, how are you?
Good morning, thank you.
So let's just kind of jump right in here. What is radon and what is it?
Radon is a natural occurring radioactive gas, and it comes from the breakdown of uranium in the soil. And you can't see it, smell it, taste it, touch it, so therefore it doesn't exist in a lot of people's minds. So what has happened is the tighter that we build our homes, making them more energy efficient, the radon gas becomes trapped in the lowest level in the basement. Mm-hmm. And more and more data is being compiled, and there is no reason to live with high levels of radon. Nationally, 1 in 15 homes are affected. In Michigan, it's 1 in 8 homes.
Wow.
And in Jackson County, it's as high as 1 in 6.
Oh, okay.
So I urge everyone to test. Then you're going to know. I am a home inspector. I would like to see radon testing mandatory with every real estate purchase. However, there are only 9 counties in southern Michigan that are rated Zone 1 by EPA guidelines. And Zone 1 means that your home could test above 4 picocuries per liter. And that's how radon is measured, picocuries per liter of air. And at 4 picocuries, which is the action level, there are 2.2 radioactive disintegrations per minute at 1 picocurie. So at 4 picocuries, the EPA action level in a 1,000 square foot home, that is now about 2 million radioactive explosions every minute of every day.
That seems like a lot. I don't know much about it, but it seems like a lot. So what are why is radon bad to have in your house? Why shouldn't it?
It's because of the breakdown further of the gas. When these radioactive explosions happen, alpha particles are emitted. There's 3 types of radiation: alpha, beta, and gamma, and none of them are any good for you.
I wouldn't think not.
When I went through my training, my instructor stated that an alpha particle hits the interior lining of your lung because you breathe in and exhale radon all the time. And when these explosions happen, it is like a bull elephant at full charge running into you.
Oh, okay.
So it's big, it's heavy, and it does damage. The human body has a great way of repairing itself, and over time it changes your DNA. The constant bombardment from radon gas, the breakdown of radon gas, continues to do damage to the lining of your lung. And having never smoked a day in your life, you go to your doctor and he tells you you now have lung cancer. Chances are it's directly attributed to the exposure of radon gas.
Oh, okay.
So I have a sound bite here that is a series of clicking, and if you remember the Geiger counters in some of the movies, when you hear the clicks or the ticks on those meters, though it's picking up radioactive explosions. And
It's a lot of ticking.
Correct. So
Is that here in this building?
No, this
I'm
is-
leaving.
this is just a recorder,
Okay.
and but the last couple of years, I've really made a effort in trying to get the information out there for the people to test. I am not an alarmist. I just want you to test. There is enough information online that will put a scare into you. And if you have any questions, you can call me at any time. I'm one of the last certified testers in the area. Everybody has dropped their credentials. It's a struggling economy, and trying to test for radon and convince people that they should do this is a pretty difficult task. So the economy being what it is, my competitors who have been certified in the past have now dropped their credentials.
Mick, how effective are the radar detectors that you buy?
The by EPA guidelines, they have to meet certain criteria. The charcoal tests that you can get at the box stores, they should have expiration dates on them. You can also get these charcoal test kits from the health department, and during January they discount them, and I believe they're charging $5 a piece for them.
Well, I know consumers sell some. I would have to think that's got to be top of the line.
There is a misconception.
Okay.
Well, there are several myths out there. People think that a CO2 detector, carbon monoxide detector, will pick up radon gas.
Oh, okay.
It does not.
That's different.
Smoke detectors do not pick it up. They have passive tests, which are charcoal-based, activated charcoal. And you run, all the tests have to be performed under closed building conditions. And closed building conditions are the house needs to be sealed up 12 hours prior to the start of the test. And by sealed up, I mean momentary entry and exit is permissible. You don't want to, during the summertime, you don't want to open the windows. You can't have any fans on bringing in outside air. You can run your heating and cooling systems. The placement of these tests are, don't run them in the kitchen, bathroom, laundry room, hall, or closet. And in the room location, you want it at least 20 inches off the floor, but no higher than 6 to 8 inches from the floor, 4 inches from any other object, 3 feet from an exterior wall, or an exterior opening, I'm sorry, and 1 foot from an exterior wall. So the tests that you get from the health department, those tests are biased towards the last 12 hours of that test. The half-life of radon gas is 3.8 days. So you need to run the test for a minimum of 48 hours, and most people run those tests 2 to 3 days. So when you mail it in, it comes with a prepaid mailer, and I believe the lab is in North Carolina. So now you have transit time. They don't tell you the next day air these samples in.
Well, this is pretty extensive.
Well, they are a simple test to run, but once the lab receives it, they're supposed to test these samples within 24 hours of receipt. And I've conducted tests, and I use a continuous monitor. Mine, I have to plug it into an outlet. It has battery backup. It has a tamper indicator. You want to perform the best possible test to get the truest, most accurate reading. EPA suggests that you test 4 times a year in alternating seasons. So you would test in summer and winter, and then spring and fall, and you take those 4 and average them together. But people don't do that. It's difficult enough to get them to test one time,
Right, yeah.
and they don't do it because of the cost associated with
Well,
it.
what is the cost, Mike?
Normally I charge $125 for my test. Closed building conditions, northern states in the winter never have an issue with that. The test is run for 48 hours, and from the time I pick up my monitor, the client has their report usually within 2 hours. I get 2 readings off of my monitor immediately when I pick it up. One is an average, and that's averaged over the entire test period. And then there's a current, which is the previous 12 hours. So that's going to tell me at the time I pick it up if there is a problem. And then I go home, download all the data. It's numerical data. I graph it out for my clients and then complete the report and send it to them. So my monitor is more accurate than the test kits that you could buy from the box stores or get from the health department.
So this radon comes in through the basement,
It
generally.
comes in through cracks and crevices and openings in the basement, correct.
So we have Michigan basements and we have finished basements. What do you see there?
It doesn't make any difference whether the basement is finished or not.
Okay.
Michigan basements, you usually have more gaps in the foundation than newer construction. Now they put in, so if you have high radon, you mitigate. That's the term that's to get rid of radon. And to do that, you put in a suction pipe underneath the foundation of the house, and you run that pipe up through the band joist, mount a fan on the exterior of the house, and then that pipe runs up past the roof line.
Now that sounds expensive.
A mitigation system in this area is currently running right around $800 to $1,200. 10 years ago, those systems were $2,500. Michigan has no requirements for installers. Plumbers are putting them in. Some systems are being installed incorrectly. In new home construction, in the bottom 2-tier counties in southern Michigan, where we are rated Zone 1 by EPA guidelines, builders are putting in passive systems. And a passive system is everything. The only difference between a passive and an active is the active has a fan installed. So a lot of the passive systems don't work. In theory, they have the pipe beneath the foundation. The warmth, the heat from the building pushing on the interior wall is supposed to put a draw on that pipe and vent draw the radon gas out underneath the slab and vent it to the exterior. And as I said, the majority of those systems don't work properly. And
Why are they doing it then?
as I said, in theory, they
Right.
they think it would work, and that's, they're doing this stuff under ideal conditions. The best case scenario I have is my brother-in-law's house, who he built. It's new construction. He put in a passive system. Of course, he was a radon skeptic. He has no issues with radon. Won't affect his house because he has this nice system in.
So he called you.
No, my sister did.
Oh, okay.
Her sewing room is in the basement. Rec room was down there. Her granddaughters played down there. She was going to have her house tested, so I tested. And her reading came out to 16 something picocuries per liter, so that's 4 times the action level. So because my brother-in-law had this passive system in, all he had to do was mount a fan. The fan cost him an extra $130, I guess. And it took his level from 16 something down to 0.7. Mitigation works. People should not be alarmed if they have high radon. The only way they're going to know what their level is to test.
Yeah, I mean, we just went through one, and this is why we were talking, is we have a buyer that she asked for radon during her purchase agreement. They did the radon testing. It came back. Do you know what the levels were on that one?
They were high.
They were high. Okay, that's fine. So, well, we knew that the mitigation was going to need to be done. So the sellers put in the mitigation system and went back and tested, and now it's all clear. So when she closes on that house, she knows that she's got a mitigation system in there that's going to keep the radon from building up. So
I think we might have a caller here. Oh, we
maybe
did.
not. Well,
Because I couldn't hang on through all my questions.
Okay, one of the things that really brought radon to the forefront was back in 1984, and they were building a power station. It was the Limerick Generating Station, and it was outside of Philadelphia. And one of their construction engineers set off a monitor. Now, they installed these portal monitors to protect the workers, to make sure they weren't absorbing too much radiation. Well, they hadn't delivered the fuel rods to the generating station yet, so they were a little baffled. So when the power station discovered it wasn't their issue, they turned it over to other state and federal authorities. So this person's name is Stanley Watrous. They went to his house and they put a series of Alpha Track monitors there, and what they discovered is his highest reading was 2,700 picocuries. That's 700 times greater than what you should. So this guy was radioactive and
But he was still alive?
He was still alive.
Okay.
His garage, how drafty are garages?
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't think of having a radon
Right.
issue in a garage, but his garage tested at 100 picocuries. So the EPA moved the family out,
Yeah, I
and,
would-
and they took over his property and used it as a laboratory for about 2 years, and they mitigated that successfully. So that's what brought this to the forefront. And
Is radon, is that simply radiation?
radon is a radioactive gas, and as I said, that comes from the breakdown of uranium in the soil. I said that it's measured in picocuries, and if I can look at my notes here, because I don't want to misstate this.
Well, it seems like it's a complicated subject.
Well, when I took my training, it was pretty intense, and the testing on it was pretty intense because I hadn't had any of that chemistry since
Right.
school. So radon gas is measured in picocuries, and 1 curie is 37 billion disintegrations a second. So a picocurie is 2.2 disintegrations every minute. So that's a trillionth of a curie. And radioactive materials are talked about and as what their half-life is. And a half-life is the time remaining for a given amount of some radioactive material to be reduced by 1/2 of its original activity. So it can be pretty complex.
Are you going to find some radon in just about every basement you go into?
Radon nationally, the in-house level is 1.3 to 1.5 picocuries. Outside levels are about 0.4 picocuries. So radon is always there.
It's just the buildup that we have to worry about. Is
Correct, and it's because we continue to tighten up the building envelope, so we are truly compounding this issue. And people will say, well, I don't spend much time in my basement. Well, if they have forced air heat, they're now grabbing radon particles in the basement and putting them throughout the house. Some of the numbers for our surrounding communities, as I said, Jackson is rated Zone 1. There are high areas within Jackson. Spring Arbor is high. 58.8% of the homes tested could come back high. In Jackson, 43.6%. Clark Lake is 44. Brooklands 49. And you can get this data off of the state and the county websites.
Okay. Well, we're just about out of time here. I know, it goes quick, doesn't it?
That went very fast.
So now if anybody had any additional questions or anything like that, how can they get a hold of you?
They can call me at any time. My office number is 517-782-2073.
Okay. Do you have a website with this information on
I
it?
have a website and I have a page strictly devoted to radon, and that is Holmes, HOLMES, inspections with an S on the end, LLC.com.
Okay, great. And you know, everybody can always go to our website, thinkingrealestate.com, and you'll see this video again. And maybe we can link to you guys and get some information up there on our website too. So, if you have any other questions, you can always reach me or Laura at 517-780-3800.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good job.
Wow.